Just tab it over here. Okay, so we played this deck yesterday on stream. We lost playing for a trophy after some speculative keeps in the last round. But I like this deck a lot. The idea is that this is kind of like, in some ways, your normal Dimir frog deck, where you have your cheap interaction, you've got your frogs, you've got your oculuses, but you're leaning in on Emperor of Bones and Agatha Salt Cauldron alongside Griselbrand to give you this really powerful value engine that goes over the top of a lot of decks. It's kind of similar in some ways to Esper Gorios, where you're kind of like a fair deck first, or you're like fair deck with this really powerful Reanimator plan to overpower other strategies that draws you into some zero mana interaction. Like that formula is pretty intact. What I really, really am liking about this build, compared to Esper Gorios or compared to normal Dimir Frog, is that your Reanimator effects, Emperor of Bones and Agatha Soul Cauldron, are also graveyard hate. They're also graveyard hate. Or maybe graveyard hate is like less important than like also being like the graveyard hate, and they can also give you other value in situations where you're not reanimating. But if you look at how the metagame is centered, like Agatha's Soul Cauldron being incidental graveyard hate against Flage, and Emperor of Bones being incidental graveyard hate against Flage for the Jeskai deck is a really big deal. Agatha's Soul Cauldron being incidental graveyard hate against the Aftermath Analyst Loop is a pretty big deal. It's also main deck graveyard hate against Goryo's Vengeance. The graveyard hate against Prowess is not super relevant, is a little relevant. Also, these are also Flage decks here. Like it's like Flage, Analyst, Goryo's. And so the fact that your main deck reanimation effects are also graveyard hate is just such a big deal. And then Emperor of Bones is also really nice against Jeskai specifically, where you're able to reanimate like their Solitudes and sometimes their Quantum Riddlers and stuff. And so you get like these extra value from your Reanimator plan, which I think is really, really cool. Also, because your reanimation effects are built-in value in other situations, you're not as weak to graveyard hate as you would otherwise be. So that's kind of, I think, the main reason I'm really drawn to like this version. I think again it still has that Esper Gorio stuff where you're good fair deck with over the top reanimation effects, but you're kind of like the Goryo's deck that's good in the mirror because of Cauldron. Is at least how I'm kind of thinking about this build at the moment. Felt really good yesterday. Figured it's a good time to YOLO it in a challenge right before Avatar is about to come out, which is going to change some things. We're on the draw. I think I would keep my hand on the play. I think this is just a mulligan on the draw. Yeah, let's go to mulligan. All right, I'm going to keep my 6. Leave the part of gold. Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if it was just going to be weird or gold, but that's kind of never stopped me before. I don't know. It's just like a weird synapse that fires in my brain. I don't know. It's more like a panda lily from season 1. They grow on the edge of a volcano. Panda lily. That's in Avatar. There's something called a panda lily. I think the volcano scene from Avatar. I think it's more of one where Aang goes to the Firelight guitar. I guess I don't remember that at all, huh? Probably against Prowess here. Oh, Affinity. Okay. So we did play against Affinity yesterday. We won game 1 and then like crushed them game 2. And thankfully they don't have like the most busted start. It feels like every time I play against Affinity in a challenge, they just have like turn 1 Kappa Cannoneer. The episode of The Fortune Teller? That sounds kind of familiar. Me and Esther did do a rewatch of the Last Airbender last year. Okay, I should have forced the crypt. I'm going to force the Thoughtcast. See if they have the 3rd land for the saga. They didn't crack the bauble. They still didn't crack the bauble, which either means they've made a mistake or they have like 0-drop slush land plus Kappa Cannoneer. There's the land. Do they have the Kappa Cannoneer? They do. Okay, I'm really hoping to top deck an Agatha Soul Cauldron. Now that the crypt is tapped. Failed to do so. Alright, probably cooked. Did Dingo ever fill you in on the challenge he gave himself that lasted 3 days? No, I don't know. I don't know what that is. All right, let's go to game 2. Losing at 1 against Affinity when you don't get to do your combo thing is probably going to be pretty normal. We do have 4 artifact sweepers to be bringing in, plus the disputes. I think I'm going down a push, cut all the forces. I don't really hate Subtlety to like slow down Kappa Cannoneer. Oh, I also added the 4th Subtlety from yesterday. I think it's just good enough against like Jeskai Blink. In addition to also being good against Titan, I think I wanted to play the 4th Subtlety. I went down to Snare for it. I think 1 Snare is okay for the editions. Oh right, sorry, we had the same dialogue tree yesterday, but then I ended up wanting some Force of Negations to draw into off the Griselbrand turns, so I guess we're gonna do that again. And then I do think Narset's... And then I wanted the Narset because it finds explosives and recall in addition to slowing down Thoughtcast Thought Monitor. And then I think I wanted to cut the Unearth. They're going to bring in a lot of Graveyard Hate. And then I'm also going to bring in like a Needle, so cutting like 2 Unearths and a Cauldron I think is okay. Maybe cut a Griselbrand too. I think that's okay. I guess I'm going to keep the 7 here. On the play for game 2. Just gonna get this. Did we just not have turn 1 Pinnacle Emissary once? I think I gotta force that. Well, I got some sweepers to draw into. They're not in my hand at the moment. Gonna go ahead and dispute that. Hopefully the last 2 cards aren't blue source Kappa Cannoneer, huh? Wouldn't think that they would have a Kappa Cannoneer here. If I think they would just cast that instead of the Thought Cast if they don't have another land. Gonna draw stop here. They might be wanting to sack the Crypt to stop me from going Fetchland Oculus. That is what they do. Plays an island. So very unlikely for them to cap a Cannoneer. We do have an Emissary and an Explosives on 0. And they've got no cards in their hand. So I drew the Flooded Strand off of the Scour. Those who are paying attention... I guess I don't need this. Saw that I kept Explosives off of the Consider, so... I have a reason for doing this at upkeep. Hopefully they didn't top deck Dispute, although still doing fine if they did, I guess. Oh, baby. Well, probably going to game 3. Awesome, dude. 10 months. Thank you for the congrats. We might go back to you too. Good to be back. Okay, on the draw for game 3 here. Yeah, I had push in my hand, so I wanted to keep up the revolt for push. And because they had emissaries of the warp zone, so if they drew a land. Do I even want Fatal Push? Yeah, I don't think I want 2 pushes. Okay, I think I might cut like a Scour for a Consign though on the draw. Maybe 2 Scours, 2 Consigns. Maybe do 3/3 again. Spike, with the release of Avatar, will the new joke card that gets named to be changed to That's Rough Buddy? I don't know. I guess I don't. The new card that gets named to be changed. That's Rough Buddy. I definitely. There's not a card called That's Rough Buddy, right? I thought that there would be one. Is Snare better than Consign? I think the first Snare for weapons is important because weapons is really, really good against us. So I think I just want one, but maybe I'm wrong. To Hurkyl, you hate Affinity. Sorry, Affinity players. This is you get sideboard carded against if your deck is in the metagame. I'm so sorry. This is unfortunately how it works. I wish there was another way. Honestly, like the third explosives just might be just better than Recall, but I think Recall being able to reset Kappa Cannoneers is nice. So they just want to pop this now because they could have Needle for the explosives, and then this also, I kill the Opal, so they just can't make another Saga token anyways. Then hopefully this keeps them off of Cannoneer this turn. We have a Shadow Spear, that's an interesting choice. They do have a second Saga. 3 cards in their hand after this. Floating mana. I think I want to force that. Pitched an Oculus there. There's like I think a high enough chance that this keeps them off the extra mana for Saga, because their hand could be like full of like Kappa Cannoneers and Thought Castle. They do just have one. Biscuit with the 47. Thank you. Welcome back. So not making a construct to force the, or maybe not force the Flog Frying, but incentivize it. Spike, I'm not going to lie, I've been referring to Ulamog as Ulapog for a long time. Me too. Spike, did get my thoughts on the recent changes to the meta during my absence. Were there any? I've been like keeping up with the top 8s and stuff. It did, to me, it looks like nothing changed effective basically. The decks that were good when I left seem to still be the decks that are good. Thanks again, Biscuit, for the 47. Maybe I missed something. Let's recall those here. Maybe I should have done this end of turn. They might have sacked the crypt if I did end of turn, but probably stopping the Shadow Spear swing is better. Oh, they're just not going to replay the Tormund script, sure. Let's go ahead and discard a Strand. Turbo Goofy, the 23 months. Thank you. Welcome back. Plays an Untapped Springs here. You can keep that on top if you want. Oh, they don't want. Okay, so we we won our first round of the challenge, which is great. Definitely liking this build a lot. I just think end up being a pretty good metagame call. I am gonna keep this at the draw. Have you seen Beifong's Bounty Hunters? Combos with Bloodghast and a Sack Outlet. I haven't seen that, no. Let you play Rumble too? Yeah, we definitely would play Rumble in that kind of deck. The problem is those kind of decks, they fill up really fast. Beifong's Bounty Hunters. So this is Sultai Ritual. They flip over a Flare of Denial, which I guess makes my decision to push this Oracle correct. Or maybe I'm okay. No, I should push it. So I can try to stick this frog. Alright, this card. Whenever you non-land creature you control dies, you Earthbend X for X is that creature's power. Don't know that I necessarily think a Sack Outlet plus Bloodghast plus this seems playable. Might be worth talking about. Yeah, you also need a payoff too. This might just get Flare of Denial. Fits in the Ygritte talent combo decks. I don't know that it does because it's just extra combo, but not very efficient. Maybe it does. I don't want to just completely rule it out, I guess. They put a card on top. We could scour them, but I think I just want to scour myself here. It's a really good decision to push that Oracle, I guess. Essence Flux, huh? I guess I'll Force of Negation that. Pitch Subtlety. Do they have a second one? Damn. Well, that's what we were worried about. So they force this pitching Oculus. Get a Swamp for Harbinger, although I don't think they're very likely to have Harbinger. This might stop them from playing an Oculus here. Passing back. There's a fetch land if they do have another Oculus in their hand. Maybe they're like hardcasted another Riddler here, which would be pretty bad for me. Yeah, they definitely have a big creature. It is an Oculus. One card in their hand after that, which means their Riddler is going to start taking over. Just digging for Griselbrand mostly. So last card's not a counterspell there. We're going to play our own Oculus, which can check the Riddler for now. Can't quite attack with the frog, though. They petty theft the Emperor here, which I think seems... Doesn't this seem worse than petty thefting the Oculus? I don't know. Oracle reveals a Misty Rainforest into play. One card in their hand here. Why not fly the frog? Oh, just a. Sorry, I should have. Yeah, sorry, dumb. Should have done that. Although, funny enough, if I had flown the frog, I don't know, maybe the borrower bounces the frog, or maybe bar that bounces the Oculus, which would have been worse. I do think flying the frog was the right play. Alright, so they got one card in their hand. Drew an interesting card off the top. Starting with an Emperor. I'm gonna target a Subtlety with the Emperor here. Leave that up. Don't think I'm gonna be subtleting the borrower end of turn. I'm gonna save it for another Riddler or an Oculus, although I guess they're pretty far away from casting an Oculus. I also want to be able to flip this up if I can. So I drew 2 cards off the Riddler. Plays an island. Flip this up. Prime 3 months? Back, baby? Yeah, we are so back. I think I've got an attack here. We're gonna take 5 down to 8. Kill the Riddler, and then I'm gonna unearth my Oculus. Was hoping they made this block. They do have something end of turn. They besage you a Watery Grave. Okay, finally found a Griselbrand. Do I want to manifest Griselbrand? With this, it would come at the cost of putting an extra Water Grave in the yard, which means I couldn't flip it, right? Killed the borrower. Well, I couldn't kill the Riddler, right? Because it's got 6 toughness. Do you have any wedding picks you can use for the hand hider? I do have some. We don't have any of the professional picks out. Maybe on Monday. I'm not sure what this means. What is the cost? Aren't there other cards? What card are you referencing? Yeah, I'm back GL. Well, let's untap. They got 2 cards in their hand. Not exactly sure what they are. Maybe some counter magic. And they pack it in. Okay, so we are up a game against Sultai Ritual. I want the disputes. I want the Narset against the Riddler decks. How important is third sewers if you don't have one? You can just play 4th Water Grave. Pretty easy. I do think the third sewers is like correct, but it's not like the biggest deal. Let me see what the Sultai builds are doing. Like if they play Frog versus do they not play Frog, it's a pretty big deal. I remember seeing that one of these Sultai builds top 8'd, right? Maybe I'm misremembering. Here's one. Oh, okay, this is not actually the Sultai build. It's just Dimir with Dismember, or sorry, Simic with Dismember. All right, I guess we're maybe going in kind of blind here. I think that they're probably not playing Frog though. I don't really think these Fatal Pushes are particularly good. Is kind of what I'm getting at. I might play Explosive. I guess Explosives on 2 is kind of tough for me. I feel like maybe I want all the forces to stop Birthing Ritual. That card just seems so important. Don't they usually play Frog or Riddler? Or they're playing Riddler. I guess. Okay, one thing is Simic Ritual should be playing Riddler. I guess I didn't look that closely if they were playing it. So they weren't really when I left. Maybe they are now. You just black for sideboard cards. Yeah, maybe just like sideboard pushes and stuff. I think I want all 4 forces. I think I want all 4 subtleties. Maybe it's too much. Harbinger seems good. It isn't, I think. I think they use like a single basic forest. They can cast every spell in their deck. Oh yeah, I forgot they have Oculus. I don't know why. Yeah. We want 3 pushes. maybe even 4. I don't know why I forgot stupid Oculus. I think I'm gonna cut a Griselbrand, cut a Cauldron, just kind of move a little bit away from the Reanimator plan. Yeah, they've got the endurances too. Unearth could be pretty good against their counter magic. Let's try this. Maybe I probably need the cantrips for the Oculuses though. Consign is good on the draw. Consign stops endurance and EV. We have 4 subtleties for endurance. We're also like not like that weak to endurance, or like as weak as Goryo's builds are, I think. Like if we go Emperor, target our Griselbrand and they endurance, we still have Emperor in play. If we go Cauldron, target our Griselbrand, we still have Cauldron in play. And they're like down 2 cards. So I'm not really particularly scared of endurance, and we have 4 subtleties, so if you have another reason to play Consign, let me know. I just don't think it's great against them. You could play some. Okay, I'm gonna keep my 6 on the draw. They kept 7. Thinking about consigning my Undercity Sewers Surveil. I joke, but what if that actually happens? Could the sideboard use 2 Feed the Swarm to hit Ritual or Urza Saga? I think Simic Ritual is not popular enough for me to want to play. No, what's funny is also if I wanted to sideboard against Ritual, you could play Grafdigger's Cage in this deck, because Cage doesn't stop Emperor or Cauldron. Also Urza Saga, like we have I think you want to play explosives and you want to play Hurkyl's Recall before you thought about Feed the Swarm. Feed the Swarm sucks. The card's really inefficient in general, right? I don't think I've ever seen anybody consign a Surveil. Maybe we should have Grafdigger's Cage on the board. Okay, one reason though is like to not have it is that at least as far as Graveyard Hate goes, you just have 4 Cauldron, 4 Emperors. You don't need to sideboard Graveyard Hate, which is really nice. It really opens up the sideboard too. Kind of a smaller, more invisible thing about the stack, but you just have room for some more sideboard cards because you don't have to sideboard any Graveyard Hate. Ritual, I feel like, is gaining popularity because of good against Jeskai. Yeah, I agree. Like the Simic Ritual, and I guess Sultai Ritual too. Like this is an archetype that we were working on a lot like last year, or like in the last like 6-8 months ago, something like that. And I thought the deck was really good and really bad against Boros, and Boros in the downswing does make a lot of sense. Yeah, I guess my opponent is not here. All of your opponent's recent results are Sultai or Simic without Riddlers, so this deck is relatively new. Yeah, I was like, they should be playing Riddler. Like I think that the problem with the Simic gamers not playing Riddler, maybe we should maybe that could be our backup deck, is just Simic Ritual with Riddler to show it. But it's like, I think people are stuck on not getting like max value on Ritual Riddler, but I don't think that they realize that like just Ritual Riddler into Riddler is really good. Ritual Riddler into Oculus is still good, and Riddler is just a good card in their deck. And it also gives them like the beef in play that they're kind of missing, like just the big high power toughness. So I could be kind of open to just play Simic Ritual with Riddler. I don't know. Maybe we could look at some lists and see if that's just like, if people have already been doing that. But this was something I was thinking about before I left for vacation. Is it possible the black source is just to pay 4 life for Dismember? It's pretty rare that people do that. I mean, it is possible. But like for the most part, like because like your Watery Grave or your Overgrown Tomb, like those cost you 2 life, right? And so like, or those can cost you 2 life, which means that it's going to cost you the same amount of life as it would be just paying, So you don't usually play the black source. If it was like, Underground Sea, you would. All right, so this load is not playing Riddler. This build is playing Riddler. Yeah, it seems like people are maybe finally picking up. Okay, looks like people are playing Riddler now. They just like weren't when I left. And I was like thinking about just doing a stream where I played Riddler in the deck. It seemed kind of boring, but kind of like maybe kind of necessary. But people are picking up. Okay, my opponent is back after like 4 minutes. I'm gonna graveyard the Watery Grave. Yeah, they had Riddler last game. I just wasn't sure if it was kind of stuck or not. Put Riddler in your blue deck. Blue deck get better. Just gonna get Swamp in the off chance they um they are on Harbinger. My opponent also had Essence Flux last game, which is really weird. Don't see that very often. Maybe they have Push or Dismember here. If they're fetching now, they probably have something like that. Or maybe they're just playing the Ice Fang. I guess they don't have it. The Ritual deck is on Riddler, Scam now. The Flux. Yeah, I don't think Flux is necessary. Like Birthing Ritual is your scam card for Riddler. I don't think you need to play Essence Flux. It's probably not that bad to play like one or two. My opponent had two last game though. Seemed high. Alright, so now they don't have Endurance up. We can attack with the Emperor. Don't know why they're surveilling now. With my Emperor trigger about to be on the stack. Look, they just surveilled a Riddler into the yard. This has been Circumplate 4. Obviously works with the shitty poo snakes. Yeah, it does some stuff. I think it's just like, to me, it seems like I would rather like still have access to Shardless Agent, or I'd rather play like Snare or Scolding or something like that in that slot. I don't know. They revealed one here. They missed their land drop. It's good for me. They pitched a Borrower. Good use for that card. Is Modern more fun than Timeless? I haven't played Timeless in a long time, but from what I can tell, the format's pretty unbalanced. I think Modern's the best constructed format at the moment, but I'm biased. What are they thinking about here? They might be thinking about chump blocking so that they can hardcast an Oculus. So if they do have Oculus, they could fetch Surveil maybe if they have third Surveil land. Like if you're gonna play Essence Flux, I wonder if like is it just we just can't splash for Ephemerate? Card is just like twice as good. Alright, so I shuffled away the frog and I drew one anyways. Not exactly a card I wanted to draw here, it's okay. It pitches and it's a Harbinger deck. I mean, that's true, yeah. So, like, that is the issue with splashing. As far as pitching goes, like, let's just say that you played Ephemerate over Essence Flux. You would still have plenty of pitchables for your forces and your subtleties. Like, you're just doing so good on the blue card count. So I don't think that point matters as much as you have Harbinger in your 75. Another thing about Harbinger, though, like, how important is Harbinger? Like you're a subtlety deck, you're a flare deck. Like I would imagine that you just have a good matchup. They reveal a Dismember here. I'd imagine that you just have a good matchup against Titan, even if you played zero Harbinger. So is Harbinger important for like Eldrazi? Is Harbinger even like an important card to play? I wonder. Maybe it is. Very important. It closes the door on Blink also. Harbinger closes the door on Blink. Doesn't Blink just... There's just a Solitude deck. Solitude's so good against Harbinger. No Escape Flage. That's something. I don't know. To say that it's really important seems... Not like just not where I'm evaluating it, I guess. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's good. I think I'm gonna cycle the push so I can get the extra card draw off the Riddler. If they have an Essence Flux, it's kind of whatever. Do you ever try blue-black Asmo stuff with Tezzeret? Yeah, a little bit. Thank you, Nick. You have lots of stuff to protect Harbinger. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm just trying to understand. I'm not really trying to argue. They're at 8. Yeah, they don't really have a good attack with the Riddler. I'm worried about Riddler starting to take over the game. Four cards in their hand. Probably some counter magic. Let's fight. Did you put it on top? Don't tell my opponent what I drew. Thanks, Adam. Did have a good honeymoon. Okay, they didn't do that last turn. Why are we fighting now? I don't want to fight, opponent. Let's not fight. They do keep it back on top. I mean, it makes sense when I've got two subtleties in play. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just main phase it last turn. I guess I could... So I probably should have, like, exiled a bunch of fetch lands so they just weren't in my deck anymore. Sorry about that. A Cauldron. Seems good. So if I attack with everything, I lose one of my creatures to the Riddler. Like whatever they block dies to Riddler. And then if they also attack, if they block this on the Frog, I could discard my hand and Cauldron on the Frog to kill the Endurance, and I would put them to 5. I think my hand's not quite bad enough to do that. In fact, it might just be best to like try to get a Subtlety up to 6/6. The Discord has a lot of discussions over the third color splash as well as the Essence Flux builds of Swordless. The color splashes discussions seem to mostly revolve around shoring up the Affinity Prowess matchup. I think that may be part of the lack of consideration around Affinity. I guess that makes sense, yeah. The black splash certainly seems to offer more in those matchups with Culling Ritual. Ritual pretty slow still. All right, well, let's put a counter on a Subtleties. It's a 4/4 Subtlety is worth a lot more than a 3/3 Subtlety here. Oh, they just have another Endurance? No, they have a Force of Vigor. Okay, well, I'm going to have Force of Negation. The Force of Vigor. Interesting that they brought that in. Okay, so now are my attacks better? They block here, and then I just counter. So if I attack with everything, I guess I would block here and here. And then what's interesting about that is if I dump my hand, then I have them dead. I think I'm going to wait a turn still. Discord, very unwilling to adjust the mana go down on MDFCs to accommodate 1 mana spells. Yeah, don't think the MDFCs are that important in this stack. Not gymming here seems good as they'll happily empty hand for Riddler. Yeah, I've been trying to be kind of conscious about that. Rigby with the 2 years. Thank you. Welcome back. So in their second main phase, they're casting a spell. Is this another Riddler? Seems like it's an Oculus. So I get punished for not main phasing my Cauldron activation. Brutal. They would have still been able to cast the Oculus, but then I would have had a 5/5 Subtlety. Maybe we'll draw a Griselbrand. So I'm discarding Psychic Frog. Cauldroning the frog here. Kill the endurance. And then let's go ahead and discard a Force of Negation to kill the Oculus. And that's it. Grist in your Cauldron deck? Are you a master brewer? Come up with that yourself. They flipped up an Oculus, which is bad for me. Seems like I should cast Subtlety here and double block. Very weird game. Very weird game. So they pitch a Subtlety, which is good for them. I'm going to put this on the bottom, I think. And then let's take 5, down to 10. Disaster. They get to draw 2. And I've got a good block now. Ooh, I drew a Griselbrand. Seems better to spread the power out here. So I've, both of my attackers are lethal because I can discard any amount here. We're gonna end up drawing 7. Let's just draw them. So I think I win. I get to go push the manifest, push the Ice Fang. I guess I didn't need to push the manifest because I could fly both. Didn't seem to matter. I have counter magic in my hand too, so should be good. I did, Kenny. Thank you for popping back in. Had a great time. Good to be back. Yeah, I'm just going to discard 4 cards, and then I have a Dispute and a Force, so I'm just going to leave the Dispute in my hand here. Anu with the 43. Thank you. Welcome back. Also, yeah, I think this deck's really nice. The breakthrough deck go live notification was not clickbait. My 7 on the play is borderline, but I think I'm keeping. Fury killed a lot of brews in tier 3 decks, so it made it fun. I think that's not a bad argument, but I don't mind Fury being gone. But I think it was just like the thing is, it's like your brews and your tier 3 decks are just still less powerful archetypally than like other stuff a lot of the time. And there were decks that like Yawgmoth being a playable deck for like the majority of the time Fury was legal, I think is kind of the main point I make here. It's like Yawgmoth being a good playable card in this environment is my evidence for like the structural argument of Fury being this big restrictive card being wrong. Because if that was really the case, Yawgmoth wouldn't have been viable, this deck that's like playing all of these cheap creatures that die to Fury, you know? We could, you know, we don't have to keep litigating this. So we're on the draw against maybe Esper Blink. I've not seen Esper Blink in a while. Not sure how this matchup's going to go. I think I'm keeping that. But Yawgmoth had a terrible matchup against Fury. I guess I don't know if we're necessarily disagreeing. Fury was good against Yawgmoth, but Yawgmoth was still like a tier 1 deck, despite being weak to the card. In fact, it was kind of a good thing that Fury existed to help against Yawgmoth. I don't know if we're even necessarily disagreeing. I am back, YRG. Seems like maybe I should have done a better job announcing the return date. They did put the Overlord on the bottom, and they also missed their land drop. They're passing. It's a little anemic. Okay. Interesting that it let me exile the Felia. That was just wrong, right? But I was gonna I didn't have anything else to do with my mana, so I was just gonna Emperor the Felia, Flicker the Emperor, just for the free 2 damage. Might have even been wrong. See if they have a third Felia. I think it's not very likely. Bowmaster though. 5 cards in their hand. My hands are not so good. Kangaroo with the 16 months. Thank you. Welcome back. They find their third land. Scary matchup. Yeah, this matchup's probably pretty tough. I think it's a lot, or like noticeably worse than the Jeskai build between like Bowmaster and Emperor. What is my hand? I'll show you. It's maybe figure outable here. 2 of the cards were 2 subtleties, and I was hoping to rip the 4th land, but I did not. I think I clearly have to trade here. With them having the Teferi on top. They don't play around another subtlety, and I don't have one. I've got 2 Griselbrands as my last 2 cards. We'll play it out because it's a challenge, but we're pretty cooked here. Did you ever try Echo Vaeons with Frog, maybe Shielded Bowmaster? Yeah. You can find it in the Moxfield. Thank you, Moxfield, for sponsoring the channel. And thank you, Conqueror, for the 16 months. Pretty cooked here. Yeah, my hand is just 2 Griselbrands. We are down on time because we didn't realize the round started, so down to just keep it moving. I'm going to bring in the Narset. I'm going to bring in the Disputes. I'm going to bring in the Push. Worth Push. I am somewhat interested in cutting a Griselbrand, cutting a Cauldron, just moving a little bit away from this stuff. Trimming a Scour. Force seems like it's only particularly good against Teferi. I think maybe having 1 to draw off Griselbrand could be okay. Dino, thanks for the raid. How did the runs go? I didn't have time to pop in this morning, but I'm back from honeymoon finally. I popped in yesterday. Love y'all too. Say it back. We are playing a tournament right now. We're 2-0, although we're down a game in round 3. I'm maybe hoping to play first Consign. I've been kind of hating Consign against these Esper decks lately. Went well. I know you're doing the All Bosses Elden Ring randomizer, right? No Harbinger. I don't usually like to bring in Harbinger against the the Solitude builds. I think it could be okay on the play. I know people are always so horny to play Harbinger against any deck, but I just kind of, as a point, don't usually bring him in against. Yeah, I've just been hating this Consign. I think I want the second Force since they've got Teferis, and also just like forcing the Ephemerate on like the Riddler Ephemerate seems kind of nice. I'm gonna keep my 7. Pretty reasonable. Yeah, so the Cauldron Emperor thing, you can't like machine gun with it, but you can just still like put 1 creature into play every turn, which is pretty good. Wait, you can only put stuff into play that you exiled with Emperor's ability, not the Frog ability that you give it with Cauldron. Is it no? We just always use the hand hider for the challenges because we've got we just want to protect the integrity of the game. But I would say that on average we probably would get sniped once or twice a tournament. I think most people aren't, but the few who are just they make it important to protect the integrity because it's like I want y'all to know how good the deck is. I want you to have an idea of how well the brew is going to perform in a tournament, and you just can't really know if the results are in question with possible stream snipers. But if there aren't possible stream snipers, then we don't got to worry. Bill with 18, thank you so much. Bub with a 20, Pockets with a 26. Feels really good to be back. Very excited for Avatar. I love Surveil lands. I do think that they're like they do some problematic stuff like that, like put a Griselbrand in the yard, but they do also just make they make games so much smoother. Ashiok. Well, let's see if they want to put that back on top. They banned Entomb in Legacy, and sometimes your lands in Modern just get to be it. Would the game be better if they were Scry fetchables rather than Surveil fetchables? They would definitely be a lot more balanced if they were Scry fetchables. I think that would be... It would maintain what I like about it, which is reducing variance, while also still being... Wait, they put it on top despite me having the Subtlety. That's interesting to attack the Ashiok. But I top deck an Oculus, and we're slamming it here. So I think they maybe have a Solitude in their hand if they kept the Ashiok. They didn't ban Entomb in Legacy, not as long as Surveillance exists. Hell yeah. Moda needs a streamer mode. Yeah, I messaged the gamers working over at Daybreak Games and saying a streamer mode where they you hide the username would be so nice. They said they were working on it, and that was, I think, over a year ago. So they had the Solitude. Evan with the 77, thank you, welcome back. I think I'm just going to let this resolve, and because I definitely have counter magic in my hand, and attack it here. They do get to snipe the Griselbrand, so if I top deck a reanimation effect, I'll be feel kind of sad, but if it's an Emperor, I can still go after the stuff in their yard. The other thing about them not being Scry fetchables is now if they ever print Scry fetchables, they'll feel worse than Surveils. Yeah, that's true. I wonder if they were they Surveils because I don't think there was Surveil stuff in the set. Maybe it's just kind of weird that they were Surveils in the first place. Is there a reason Pact of Negation Consign is only played in the Neobrand shell? Seems like a strong combo that a lot of decks only... So the thing about Pact Consign is that you can only really play that combo if you're a deck that is... I think I'm going to go ahead and Subtlety this. You can only really play that combo if your deck has a lot of busted card draw. You kind of have to be playing something like Griselbrand or Atraxa, and you have to be getting them into play quickly. So maybe Pact Consign you could play it in a deck like this, but one thing about this deck's construction is that we're really interested in this deck. We're really interested in having a more normal fair game plan that you're playing most of the time, and you kind of backdoor into Reanimator instead of having the Reanimator plan A, and I think that dynamic's kind of important to maintain. So it all kind of depends, but yes, it is possible that there's some underexplored space there. I guess I do want to keep this. I could cast it now. Well, I guess I don't really care that much about the mana efficiency at this point. So I'm just going to keep the extra creature in the yard, which I think is important too. I also get an extra power on the Emperor, which is not that big a deal. So they're going to go up to 11, and they're going to go down to 5. Oh, the collect evidence stuff. That's right. There was 0 scry at MKM. Well, I mean, it is evergreen. I just think in general for modern, it probably just would be better if these were scries, but I like them in general. Not the biggest thing to complain about. Chugging a little Dayquil, a little under the weather. I think it's like, I don't know if like jet lag can make you sick, but feeling a little jet lag still. Yeah, I like Emperor of Bones a lot. I think Emperor of Bones is like maybe top 5 designed from MH3. One of the few that I just feel is like actively well designed. So will they Felia and like reset my Emperor? That doesn't seem like something they'd want to do. Maybe they would like activate the Emperor, chump my Emperor. Don't know if that makes a lot of sense. Maybe it makes a little sense. Air points can make you sick. Yeah, for sure. They're just disease hotspots. So do I care about attacking with the Emperor if they just have this free chump block? I guess the answer to that question is not really. Okay, go to game 3. Would love to start our first challenge back 3-0. We'll see if we can get there. Yeah, allergic to marriage. Oh, sorry. I'm not meaning to drag this in. Yeah, but they also brought in Ashiok. I think the forces are fine. Just 2 is probably a good number. We also have the subtleties and the disputes for them. So my opponent's on the play. We're on the draw for game 2. I'm going to keep my 7. Graveyard into Cauldron here. We did hardcast the Griselbrand yesterday, yeah. See if they have the Felia. They probably do if they kept this hand. Only white mana right now. This is deck 1 Thoughtseize in the sideboard for on the play. I don't usually like vibe-based sideboards. Okay, so one thing, I'm not going to sideboard Thoughtseize if I'm on the play. That's not going to be like my criteria for boarding that card in. But Thoughtseize is also the kind of card that usually I like to play if I feel like it's the right interaction for the deck. And if I feel like it's the right interaction for the deck, usually I like to main deck it, but sometimes I'll consider sideboarding it. But that's almost my only criteria is like, is it the right interaction for the deck? And if yes, I just almost always main deck it instead. All right, so let's unearth this Psychic Frog, and I think I'm also going to cast this Emperor of Bones. And sometimes, like, you know, you have like a sideboard map that does care about being good and like against like 3 decks that you want sideboard cards for, and Thoughtseize happens to be like maybe not the best against any specific one of those decks, but maybe the best for one of them. So they did find black mana. Did they have the Overlord? They do find the Overlord. Scary, scary stuff. So they're going to get that in play. They find a Witch Enchanter. They find a Felia. If they attack with the Felia, they don't have a Solitude. We can, you know, block the Felia pretty freely with the Frog. They do have the Solitude, though. They're pitching Witch Enchanter. So I am going to go... Oh, and they have Ephemerate. Well, I'm still going to discard this Griselbrand. But really gross. Went from opponent stumbling to us being super duper behind. They also have the Ephemerate on the rebound coming down. They picked up another Solitude too. I've heard from other streamers. I watch that you do great training for new people coming into competitive play. I play Storm. Do you have a good resource for that? I guess maybe that's not exactly what we do here. Like the main focus on this channel is trying to brew and innovate in the modern format, and then a lot of times we'll end up exploring specific archetypes. This is my best play, despite them having Solitude. We'll try to brew and innovate in specific formats or specific archetypes, and sometimes that ends up being like more established stuff like Storm. Especially like when MH3 came out, we did a lot of exploring Ruby Storm because it was new and fresh. But it isn't something we do that often. Is just like today we're grinding this like stock top deck. So if that's what you're looking for, this is probably not the best place for that. You can go to my YouTube channel and you can see a lot of older Storm content we have done, but it's older now because we haven't worked on it in a while. But we are competitively focused, but the focus is more so again on trying to brew and innovate rather than playing more traditional stock decks, if that makes sense. Okay, we are again not in great shape, but gonna do our best here. So I imagine they're gonna go rebound, target the Solitude, and I imagine that I have to Force of Negation in response. I'm gonna pitch this Mystical Dispute. Force of Despair seems gross versus Blink, but also Injured Titan. Is it gross against Blink? I feel like it's sometimes like a 2-for-2 where they drew cards and you didn't. It seems okay, you know. Like, it's not very good against Felia, because Felia came in last turn. There are definitely some gamers who are just really, really thirsty for Force of Despair. Man. I guess we just need them to brick on the land for an extra turn. They grab another Felia, and they're going to Solitude my Emperor. How have the stream metrics fared off my gap? I mean, it's our second stream back, and viewers are way down, but also I'm getting a lot of people in chat going, like, so I didn't know you were back, and I'm not on Twitter anymore. I think that's maybe affecting it somewhat. I think it'll probably bounce back after Avatar. But I think just anytime any streamer takes like a almost 3-week break, you're just going to have a pretty big drop in viewers until people catch back in, or you know what? This is actually the longest break I've ever taken. I think that's okay. Just part of the gig. We have a new viewer in the chat, a corporate shill. I don't know if they're going to stay, but they seem somewhat interested. Third Overlord. Great draw. They got another Solitude in their hand. Probably going to be 2-1. Very interested. That's good. Again, take your time to evaluate. But yeah, I've been thinking. I was thinking this on the honeymoon a little bit, but like, I was thinking, maybe I need to do a better job. Like, I'm Aspiring Spike, and I play 2 new modern decks on stream every day. Except sometimes on Friday, Saturday, I try to play one of the brews in a challenge, and also a new brew in between rounds of the challenge. I do that every single day, Monday through Friday. I hope to see you there. Like maybe that would be good if I did more of that. Maybe that would be miserable. I'm a little bit undecided on that plan. Let me know. Also, what is my plan? I think I have a plan for this game. Sounds miserable. Yeah, I know. I would be really miserable doing it, but would it be better for the format, not for any other reason? I just need to get more eyes on modern guys. That's my main goal. All right, so if they pitch the Solitude on the Oculus, we are technically alive. Although, you know, I have a plan for this game. I don't think I'm very likely to beat the double active Overlord here. Maybe they'll mill themselves. Maybe we can get Corporate Shill's opinion on the streamer voice. Does that make you more or less likely to stay? Okay, we're dying to Emperor. So we're 2-1 in the challenge. Yeah, I swear it's just for the format, guys. You don't care about the health of the format enough to gift 10 subs right now? All All right, on the play again. I'm gonna keep my 6. I'm gonna put back this card. You can't expansion your explosion. No, but Azula copies it. Azula copies your expansion explosion. So it's not that you're not copying with expansion, just Azula inherently copies it. Esper Blink again? Kind of unlucky. I would kind of like tune this build for Jeskai Blink. I don't know, maybe Esper's just coming back. I guess Esper's probably good against Jeskai, huh? Did you keep a card on top? Seems like we probably just want to chill here. Maybe they have Ophelia. Graveyard's an Ephemerate. Don't really care about them having a discard outlet, obviously, when they have Frog in play. Tentacle with the 25. Thank you. Welcome back. Good to be back. They discard a Frog. They discard a Bending. You know, I'm happy that they're Reanimator, because us having Cauldron, us having Emperor is just such a big deal in this matchup. Yeah, I think I'm still just chilling. Yeah, I agree Esper seems good against Jeskai. Not sure how Esper Gorios is against Jeskai. It's probably fine. Like, not like a super lopsided matchup one way or another. Does anyone know if Flare of Duplication doubles if you sack it to Azula? I think it probably wouldn't, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe getting a little unlucky on our Oculus flips here. Hopefully they don't have a third Ephemerate. They also play a Plains. I had my reason for not flipping the Subtlety there. Guess I should play this Frog, though. And I think it's probably about time to start alphaing. Maybe I should have probably done this before playing the Frog, though. Where do we pitch that instead of cast it? I had a reason. I think maybe it was still better to hard cast. I did have a reason, though. Discard a Breeding Pool. And then they just let the frogs bounce off of each other. So got to be happy to get that 6 damage in there. So hopefully they don't have second Gorios. It's been a long game, so not too tough, probably. So they hard cast a Solitude, so not nearly as bad as another copy of Gorios. Does flipping up this Subtlety make a lot of sense? I think I'm going to scour myself instead of trying to do that. And I'm going to fly both of my Froggies here. Attack with everything. Would have been nice to have manifested an Emperor or an Oculus off of any of those manifests. Or draw on a Cauldron. Might have been better to leave back one manifest. I think it's okay. So they fly the frog. They've got 2 cards in their hand. Block there. Block there. So do I want to trade my last card, which I want to discard anyways, for a random card in their hand? It might be better to just make this frog back bigger. I think that's going to be what I'm going to do. I'm going to discard here. It's a Griselbrand. And then they're going to take pretty big hit down to 8. Oh, okay. And then I top decked an Oculus. So maybe not as good as a Cauldron would have been, but still pretty dang good. And they didn't have a Goryo's last turn. We're hoping they don't just immediately top deck the Goryo's. If they do, they also only have 2 Ephemerates left in the deck. They might brick. And there's an Emperor of Bones, so like if we, that's going to win the game for me if my opponent doesn't win the game themselves here. If they don't win, we're going to win. High level analysis. So they have a Riddler drawing 2. So what was the reason? I was thinking I wanted to flip up the Subtlety, but then because they hadn't played their second land, they hadn't played their second or their another land to hold up 2 mana for Goryo's. So I was thinking that I wanted to just get more aggressive and flip up the Subtlety and then have Snare up next turn for the Goryo's because they hadn't played their land yet. But then they did play the land, so I ended up needing to hold up the Snare instead of getting to flip over the Subtlety, which ended up just making it having been better to hardcast the Force. But that was my reason for pitching. Don't target this manifest. So they have 2 cards left in their hand. Do they have the 3rd Ephemerate as one of them? Imagine them solituding this manifest token. They can suspect the other manifests are great. I mean, they should target the frog, I think. I don't know, maybe it's not the most unreasonable, but it would be sus. Okay, they let the Solitude die. And then they Ephemerate the Riddler. They get to draw 4 cards. Maybe a Riddler will get banned. It is like so clearly the best card advantage engine in the format. No! They pending the Emperor of Bones manifest. Ah, fucking shit, dude. No, that's not sus. They just drew the ending off the Riddler. That was definitely the right target on the pending. That one was totally normal. I think that got me. I guess we're passing back. I guess I'll surveil. Don't have a good attack. If these bendings were indulgences, we would have died. Or they would have died. It'd be so hard for them to not find a Goryo's Vengeance too. They pitched a Teferi, so maybe they're going to cast their other Riddler here. Seems like the plan. Now we could still draw a Cauldron or an Emperor of Bones. Slitherwisp 5-0. I was thinking about Slitherwisp with the new Owl. Can play it over Sam. I do remember like that stupid Slitherwisp list started popping up, and like it was just like every chat from every chatter was like, Spike, are you gonna play Slitherwisp? I should have just played it, but instead I was like, I was getting so annoyed. Do I want to chump this with the Subtlety? Yeah, I think they just have so much beef in play that stopping them from either drawing like 3 more cards and discarding 3 more is good, but also like if I have this Griselbrand coming down, having 6 more life points might be nice. Owl Path was doing. Oh, Path to Exile with Owl is not something I thought about. Yeah, we're just graveyarding every non-Cauldron, non-Emperor of Bones card here, of course. I didn't draw another one. Well, it's a challenge. We'll keep playing it out. FM is the problem, not Riddler. Maybe. Yeah, concede here. There are a lot of other cards that are very good with Riddler, like Ephemerate, you know, Ritual and Felia, of course. Ephemerate's very, very powerful. I've been saying for years that like Ephemerate is like one of the strongest cards in Modern, but it's one of these cards that's, despite being very strong, doesn't exactly have like the support for it to like reach its potential, and it definitely has reached its potential. Is 3 push a good number? We didn't see any Emperor of Bones. Is the Owl on Scryfall? Yeah, it's on Scryfall. I'll be posting some decks with it on Moxfield very soon. I might be going down on the Force of Negations. They're kind of nice against Teferi and sometimes Gorios, but if they instant speed Gorios, it can be tough. But we also just have 4 Cauldron and to some extent the Emperor of Bones. So I think I'm going to go down to 1 or 2 Force. Right, 1 Unearth, -1 Scour. I want all 4 Subtlety. Subtlety is pretty good against them. Right, let's play 1. People are letting Path be strictly better swords to prevent the card draw from Owl. So it sounds like something that'll happen in the late game for sure. It is interesting. It is interesting. It's definitely the kind of thing you need to be playtesting. So I'm gonna play for game 2. I'm on a mulligan to 6 again. And they keep a card on top. Pass back. Something that came up frequently. Why does the Owl have both flying and vigilance? I forgot it has vigilance. That is pretty crazy. I will say, I think the vigilance is maybe mostly like a flavor thing. Gargantuan to the 37th. Thank you. Welcome back. I did have a great honeymoon. Perfect wedding. Okay, y'all get to see how shitty my hand is. I bought him the 3rd Fatal Push on my Mulda 6. I drew both Griselbrands. Awful hand. Oh. No information given. Do you believe in the Owl Path to Exile synergy? I mean, I think it's like an interesting synergy that you could explore. I don't necessarily think it's that likely that those 2 cards together are going to like that Path to Exile is going to be the kind of card that you want to play alongside Owl. It's like, to me, Owl just seems good. Owl seems like a good card in the Modern format with no support. It doesn't seem like you need to play any enablers to make your Owl better. And if that's the case, then you don't need to play a card that's lower card quality for the Owl to be good. That being said, if Path to Exile is like randomly kind of close and it gets really powered up by Owl, I think it's fine. Or if you have other synergies with Path, like Lean and Arbiter, maybe, for example, although that's anti-extension with the Owl, so maybe a bad example. But just something like that, then, it could work. Maybe we could have scoured them. Looked for like a Solitude. But is the Owl not the one enabling Path instead? Yeah, but but this is what I'm saying. Like, Owl is good without Path. Path is only good with Owl. You can play cards that are just good by themselves. Owl's good by itself. So does this make sense? It's like Owl is good by itself. Path is good with Owl. You could play a card instead of Path, like a Solitude, for example, a Galvanic Discharge, a Fatal Push, that is good without that is good without the Owl being in play. While Shitong is going to make Riddler look fair, draw a card every time your opponent fetches is wild. Yeah, I will say, like, it does have, like, more counterplay to it. Although it can just draw a card on ETB, too, and it'd just be gigantic. I do think the card's going to be a modern staple. I think it's going to be a really big deal, but it's maybe easier to counter than Riddler is. You have to draw a card off for 4 mana. Like what's kind of crazy about this, the owl, is I think this card would be a really good modern card if it wasn't even an X spell. If it was just 1/1 Flashfying Vigilance, opponent searches, draw a card, put a counter on it, I think that would be a very good modern card. But it also just enters with X counters, and it also draws half of X cards, which is crazy that it just also does that. It's pretty wild. What threats would you play in Owl? Is it control? I don't know if you would play Is It necessarily, but like it seems to me like you would start probably more in like a Dimir Frog Shell. I had what did I have for Owl here? So yeah, beyond just like Owl is just a good card, but it also could go in like a Wreck Shell or something with Shell. It's also a Spirit for Spirits, which at one point was a modern deck. But I think it is mostly going to be just like a value deck. I do have a Snare now for the Gorios. Avatar will be legal on Magic Online on Tuesday. So hopefully my opponent just doesn't have another Gorios and I can Emperor their Attract. So that seems to be my plan. Yeah, I don't really understand. Like in theory, blue is supposed to have the worst creatures in Magic. Like that's on the color pie, blue creatures are supposed to be the least efficient. At least that's what I was taught. That's what I was taught growing up. But in practice, blue has the best creatures by a lot. It's like I don't really understand. I guess that's always how it's been. Do you miss competitive Magic? I do, yeah. Now that I, am done with the wedding planning, I should have some more time for tournaments this coming year. I'm gonna go to Vegas, and then there's Spotlight Series in my area too, and I think I'm also gonna play some RCQs and stuff. Yeah, maybe it's been like that since Delver. Constructed is a horrid reflection of the color pie. Maybe that's true. Originally, blue had big creatures. I guess that is true, too. I'm not convinced I'm that good. The boys tell me I'm in Doomer era. I guess those two things don't necessarily need to be related, but I just think the card's like a good modern staple. I don't necessarily think it's going to be broken. I think it has a lot of counterplay to it, too, which I like. Dude, I'm getting strategic betrayed again. Y'all know I have 2 Griselbrands in my hand, and I just can't discard a Griselbrand here for value because they just gets exiled. K-Command invalidated the color pie. You're not wrong. Well, they actually played a frog here. They knew I have 2 pushes. I guess they just want to empty their hand for the Riddler. Have I watched the new Magic documentary in Prime? No, I have. What's the documentary about? I didn't hear about it. Any details of a wedding you wish you'd hammered out better? Getting married next year. Always nice to hear tips. I really don't say this lightly. The wedding was just literally perfect. Everything went really well. Like there was maybe like a couple small things. Like there was one song we thought we had picked a different song, and like one song was different on the track. People go something. Esther she like lost her veil, but she didn't give a fuck about the veil, and I don't know. Everything it was just perfect. It really just did not. Nothing bad happened. Basically, history game watching. That's really cool. I should give it a watch then. But before then, I'm gonna go record the Avatar video. I think we were 2-2 dropped. Dimir Cauldron wheels fell off after a very hot start with the archetype. So good news is I should have some time to record today. I think it's not very likely I finish recording the Avatar video today, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna go to the gym first. I think I'm gonna try to record today. I will almost definitely, unless something happens.